It's been great. She's helped me an awful lot with this, and I think it's been of value. The Joan's role, Joan's been invaluable also. She was a 5-time participant in the program. She's going to be participating again this year because I think she's a break with babies at this point. She has 2 kids, and she just got a job back in town here. You'll get to meet Joan. She's tremendous. And she coordinates the Saturday group runs, which are the nucleus, the physical nucleus of the program. They're every Saturday morning. We're going to have 6 of you this summer sign up for each week. It's in and it'll get published, and we're actually going to edit this because one of the things I noticed last night in the questionnaires was there was a fair amount of complaining. And I get the complaining. I just don't know what to do about it. It was about all of the runs being so far to drive to. Every single year, I challenge the group to come up with some runs on the eastern side or northern side of town that are not killer as far as hills, not killer for cars, and they have a parking area. And the few that have been submitted have been suicide runs that have got royally rejected by the group after one try. So, if you've got to run, and the parking's huge. We have 200 people in this program every summer. We've got to park any given Saturday. There's 75 to 100 cars. It's hard. It's hard. And I would say that, Friday night, get to bed early. You're training for a marathon, training for a half marathon. It's serious business, that long run. You want to be well rested. You want to be well fed. You want to be well hydrated. And get up a little earlier and take the drive. The runs are so worth it. But anyway, we've already changed 2 of the runs in here. We're going to be in town, the 10-miler course, which I personally helped design. And I will tell you, I think it's horrible for groups that are trying to engage in a really relaxed setting. There's intersections, there's sidewalks, there's cars, but we're going to do it this summer because I saw the number of folks last night, and people say I'm scary. I am scary. I think the more you get to know me, you'll find that the bark is nowhere, and the bark is worse than the bite. But I am very open when I see a consensus to saying, okay, let's try it. So we'll send out a new version of this. It's in August. I think it's the It's the 24th of August and the 21st of September are going to be 10-miler. And that'll help for some of you folks on the east side of town. I personally came up with the Green Springs course, which is way east of town. It's an easy drive to get to, and all the directions to your runs are here. But the Keene was a new one about 8 or 9 years ago. That's south of town. But it just so happens that a lot of the runs are west of town that are for Union, Whitehall, that are the ones that we found to be quiet with plenty of parking and not, it's hard to find a flat course, but the ones that aren't killer for hills. So anyway, with Joan, we want 6 to sign up each week. We're going to be very stubborn this year about making sure it's not 6 rookies. We had some issues with that last year. It was like the blind leading the blind. So we had many weeks where it was all brand new people doing it together, and we had some scenarios that were imperfect. So this year we're going to try and make sure that at least one veteran is on the sign-up each week. It's a co-op. You're expected to do this. Most people, I think last summer, pretty much, I don't even know if everybody, there were too many people in the program I think with 6 people, and I don't know how many weeks there are, maybe 20 weeks, so that's 120 people. So you see, it is 120, isn't it? Yes? That doesn't even take up to 200 persons. So it's time-consuming. There's instructions in here how to do it, but you only do it one time. It's pretty cool. And
I'll be sending out an online sign-up form, and you'll be picking your first 3 options. And so you might not necessarily get your first option, but the form will allow you to enter 3 possible ones. And then you can also put a note in there about if there's people that you want to group up with. And as long as, if you had like a group of 6 people and you've done it before, you're pretty much guaranteed to get that week. But if you have 3 people that are new, then we'll find 3 veterans so that you're not
We don't mind you clutching with friends. That's how it's done. Most of the time it's great. It's social. You get out there crack of dawn. It takes a couple hours to do it. I do this on a regular basis because I put on races almost every weekend. So it's fun for me to, when I hear you guys complain about it, I think, all right, now you can relate. Next time you go to a race, you can realize that stuff doesn't plop out of the sky. But I don't mind 3 or 4 of you sign up as a group if you're all new, but then hopefully, Leah, I guess we've got some.
Yeah, and on the questionnaire, you'll mark whether you're a veteran or a newbie, so.
Trust me, you don't want to be all with new people. Last year, the people that complained to me the loudest were the people that all ended up doing it together as new, and they said, Mark, this was really bad, and we didn't know which direction to do things. What is it, Henry?
I just wondered, when would you expect that to go out?
Tonight. I just was verifying that we were changing a couple of dates, so I have it ready. Actually, there's a link on the website now, but I didn't want to send out the link until I was sure.
I think you should emphasize, if somebody can't make it, they've got to take the initiative and contact.
Henry, I am really glad to hear you say that. This is, we preach this to our employees when we're hiring them. I preach it to my athletes in a group. It's give and take. It's a family.
Yeah.
Families are all about give and take. And when someone doesn't let someone know they're not showing and they've got an important job, and we got hosed last year a couple of times with people just, and a lot of times my thoughts go, they were in a car wreck, or they had a crisis with a child or something. Yeah, just they, didn't feel well the night before and decided not to get up the next morning. You can't have it. So you can do that, but let us know ahead of time so we can plan for it, right?
Yeah, because we usually have backups, but the backup system only works if we find out that we need to use the backup. So don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to sign up for something if you think you're going to have to change. Because I know signing up for something in October now seems like, oh, I don't know. But just let Joan we'll have Joan's email address for everybody, and just as long as you let her know, even as little as a week in advance, just so that somebody else can take the slot. Because when you don't show up or you don't let your teammates know that you're not showing up, it's the worst situation to put them in, and you're going to lose friends.
Guys, there are seats up here. Do you want to sit? No? Standing always make me, I feel like you're, look at this up here. Come on. You don't want to sit? Atta girl. Good. Now, there's a confident person. You're going to do good with your training. You and I are going to get along.
We already do.
Good girl. Okay. This booklet for you veterans, it's about the same as last year. I've added a few things, I've changed a few lines, I've edited a few things. But if you're new, do not ask me a question until you've read this booklet. And this is true also with the Saturday coordinators. We had a couple of people last year asking questions the answers were right in here. And it's frustrating. It really is. One of the comments we got from folks too is that they couldn't find some of the long runs. They thought the maps were bad in here. We're going to try and, that's never been a problem until last summer, so I'm not sure what that's about, whether we're, as a society, getting worse at reading the handwritten maps. But Leah's going to try and help with that this year a little bit. But you've got to give the book a chance, read it, go through it. I've highlighted a couple of sections. Well, I'm not going to go over that now. I still want to talk about Saturday. So Saturday, we had a controversy. Well, we had disagreement last year about when to start it. We moved it to 6 because of the heat, and we did that in midstream, and there was a flood of criticism, and there was a flood of euphoria. It's hot. It's hot and humid. The single worst thing about training in the Mid-Atlantic for a fall marathon is the summer, is the actual training process. It's horrible. I actually personally think the dark, cold, windy winter, they're awesome for training. Most of my spring marathon people love training in the wintertime. Now, we've had some bad winters where there's been ice and snow, and that has caused a lot of problems. We don't have that scenario in the summertime, for the most part, except for July 1st last year, whatever, it's January 30th, June 30th, and we had that storm come in that took all the trees down. That was odd, but for the most part, we're pretty clear. Anyway, it's hot, it's humid. The earlier we start, the better. But we are going to go 6:15. If we get a consensus from you that that's too late, we'll move to 6. The beauty of emails is that we can change on a dime. We'll give you a week's notice. I am sending out weekly emails. That is a ton of work for me. It really is. Grammar, spelling, thoughtfulness. I don't like to preach too hard if I'm upset about something. A couple years ago, we had a couple of people really rude to our staff at the store when they were coming in to pick up the water jugs in the marking line. And I tried my best to word it in a nice way that please, these are people trying to help. Don't, bark orders at them. They didn't like the flavor of the Cliff Bar, remember?
Yes.
So, anyway, what was my point? Lost it.
The email's not being too appreciated.
The emails.
Oh,
it
takes a lot of, read the emails, please.
I grit my teeth. I will walk away from you if you come up to me on a Saturday morning and you get on me or ask me a question about something that I took the time to write. I'm trying to anticipate what are the questions people are having each week, and there's also advice in there. So a few years ago, I got criticized for the lectures being too long on Saturday morning, so I shortened them up. Then last year, we got a bunch of people saying, Mark doesn't tell us enough. Well, they're in the emails. I've got training tips every week, updates. Read the emails, please. I don't get it. I mean, I know we're all overwhelmed with emails, but if you want to be engaged with it, please read them. And I will try and keep those talks very brief on Saturday morning. So I'm just trying to help out, get you guys engaged in it properly. The Saturday runs, I think that's about it, Leah, don't you, with it? They're very important. I think they're the jewel of the program. They're really neat. They're creative. We are going to expect you to, spokesperson for your group, like Eric, quite often he'll speak. The weeks he's done it, pick on you a little bit, Eric, but he'll stand up and say, watch this out there, and there was a couple of dogs here, and watch there, and where they've got the water placed, it's great. I think it's really something special, and you put your own stamp on it. The programs themselves, I go in chronological order of when the race is. This is, for some reason, some folks already not understanding this. If you put, right out of the closet with this, if you put down Labor Day weekend is when your race is, I'm going to write your program first, because that is the starting. We don't have any races earlier than that. Why? Because I'm anxious to get your program before your event. If you're doing 3 bridges in December, that's why I put a ton of work into these this year. The great American gaffe right now in marathoning in this country is people don't build their bases up. We're in a rush to get there. People get these online programs, 0 to hero in 10 weeks. Get off the couch to Marine Corps in 2 months. I don't believe in that. I want you to stay healthy the rest of your lives. I want to run into you in the Kroger or out on the downtown mall in your 70s. I want to run into you and you're still walking upright, without wind, you look great. I don't want to feel like I was part of something that ended up trashing your body. So base building is really important. We have this set up so that if you are doing a November marathon, you're probably not going to get your program until late July. Just realistically speaking, this tells you what you should be doing if you're a novice, if you're experienced, or if you're trying to qualify for Boston. And if you have questions about that, or you fall somewhere in between, or you're behind, and you want me to help you, that's where the personal stuff comes in. Just come in. I don't mind. Quite often people say, I know that you haven't written my program yet, and I think it's probably taboo to even ask you any questions before I write the program. No, come in and talk. I'm happy. I'll sit down with a piece of paper and rough out some detailed stuff for you. But this is there to help you and also to buy me time. So the best run marathons are the ones that do have bases to them. And I use the analogy of a house. You build a weak foundation, 2-story house is going to crumble pretty quickly. We can't build marathon training without you staying injury-free without some kind of base. And people get a little scared about the mileage. I expect for a marathon you to get up to 40 miles. If you don't want to get injured and you want to have a good experience, somebody just said, wow. Think about it. Once, you got to do a 20-mile run. That means you got to buy 20 more miles the whole rest of the week. Come on, think about that. It's not that hard. So you do 6 miles 3 days a week, or you do 4 miles 5 days a week, or you do a 7 here, a 4 here. You can do it, and I'll help you with that. I will help it. And listen, 40 is a goal. You don't get up to it, that's fine your first time around. But if you do want to qualify for Boston, you're not going to do it on less than 40. Not going to happen unless you're some freaky talented person. The distance is 26 miles. You got to fool your body into thinking that isn't very far to go. You can't do that on 30 miles a week. With a half marathon, 25 to 30 miles a week, you should be trying to get yourself up to. And again, think about it. Your long run's going to get up to 14, 15 miles. Some of you will only get up to 13. I say only, but we'd like to get you over the distance. You have to buy another 12, 13 miles. That's pretty easy to do. You should be thinking about 4 days a week, 3 is a minimum. 5 is kind of unusual, 6 is really rare, and I don't believe in the 7-day-week program. I don't have anybody doing that except the real elites, the ones trying to get to the Olympic trials. And I don't think anybody in this room, but you never know. We did have Louise Knudsen. It's maybe 6 years ago. She was a nurse, came into this program, ran through the summer, her first marathon, ran 3:18, and then she ultimately ran 2:42. She went to the Olympic trials. I got to coach her all the way through that. It was pretty cool stuff. That started in this room. You never know. You never know. But that is not the driving, overriding goal of this. 2-mile time trial. I've already gotten some flack about this. I think it's gotten an urban legend type notion about it. I don't understand where it's coming from. Here's the purpose. When you fill out your questionnaire, some of you have no idea what your potential is for the marathon or the half marathon. If you've run a 10K recently, a 5K recently, if you ran the 10-miler recently, you can put that down and I'll let it slide. You don't have to do the 2-mile time trial. But most of the people put down, I haven't raced in 2 years. Or they put down a previous marathon PR, pre-children, 12 years earlier. That is, I mean, I don't want to say you're never going to get there again, but that's not fair to you or your coach. We got to have a better idea of where you're at. So you run a 2-mile time trial. Yes, it is painful, but it's over quickly. 8 laps. I'm there each week, every Wednesday, to help you. There's instructions in the booklet on how to do it. You can read it ahead of time, but I'm still going to give you, Conrad, you were there the other day. We have pacers. We try and make this as easy as possible, as seamless, as pleasant as possible. It's eerily accurate. What you run in that 2-mile time trial will tell me what your potential is to run for that summer for something longer distance. I know it sounds odd, but it does scientifically work, at least ballpark. Now you might say, well, I'm going to get fitter as the summer goes on. Great. That's a bonus, but at least it gives me an idea. So we have this every year. 4 hours seems to be the mark that people, new runners, think that's a goal to go for. That's fast. That's 9-minute pace. They don't break 20 minutes in a 2-mile time trial. It's almost it's like pressure off of them, and also gives me a realistic shot at getting them to what we think is a good goal. In this booklet, you guys, I printed out the latest stats. It's pretty far in the back of American marathoning. And first off, Lee and I feel really strongly, so is the Charlottesville Track Club, we are not a speed-based organization. Your times, your abilities have nothing to do with you being involved in a program like this. I think it's the second last page, and it's down in the right-hand corner. So it's on the opposite page of the Charlottesville Track Club. Charlottesville Track Club is in the back cover, I think, isn't it? Close to the back cover. You look at that little box there. Look at those stats. So
Thank you.
this is the demographics. Men, the average time to hit was 4 hours and 26 minutes. Women, it was 4:52. And the overall average time was 4:37. 30 years ago, when Cynthia, my wife, won the Marine Corps Marathon in the early 80s, it was a really special time in our life. The average American finishing time that year was 3 hours and 30 minutes, 8-minute pace. If you were 4:30, you were off the course. Today, it's such a broader, more welcoming, democratic sport. It's wonderful. So this should tell you, it's pretty startling for some people, oh, I'm so slow, I can't break 4 hours. It gets old when I have to show them this to say, come on, look at this. This is not the American public. This is people that ran a marathon in the United States in 2011. Pretty neat stuff. And then you see the age group breakdown. That's pretty remarkable. You see the times, the average times that people run in the different age groups. Pretty cool stuff. That's a fascinating results there to take a look at when you have some time. The programs are as personalized as you want me to make them. When you receive it in the mail, if something's changed, you've gotten sick, there's a family crisis, you've gotten hurt, I want to adjust it. Give me that opportunity to do that. If you want to see me in person live, so to speak, it's a spontaneous thing, come in with something to do, bring your laptop in, because I do have I don't get paid to do this, I love it, but I do have a job where I have to, earn a salary, so to speak. So give me some time when you come in. I'll get over and sit down with you. I really actually love it. So Scott, you come in sometimes. You sit there for a while. Eric, you always wait. Ian, you're always good. Leah, you come in with work to do. I don't want to sound pretentious, but if you come in live like that, give me a little time and I'll get over and sit down and I'll tweak it. So until you receive the program, follow the base building. You don't like the base building doesn't match up to where you're at, come see me, please. And it isn't going to be a lecture to say, how did you get in this program? You're hardly doing any mileage. I'm going to sit and work with you on getting you there. We talked about doing some running socials. Leah and I will get you up to date on that. We had that comment last year that June is kind of a dead month because we don't actually start until the end of June with the training runs, because we found it when we started in May and early June years ago, people were burned out. But last year with 34 different events, 60% of the participants were at Richmond because it's the closest, the most accessible, and it has to happen full, and they're pretty sweet courses. So if we start you training in earnest, week after week, long runs, with focus, in early June, you'll be burned out by the time you get to November 16th. So we've learned the hard way. It takes, it's probably the hardest part of my coaching is to, you guys are so enthusiastic, so fired up, I gotta say, wait. It's kind of like the don't fire till you see the whites of their eyes, the opening of Gladiator. Anybody see the opening? No, kids in the audience, the opening scene. Russell Crowe is saying, wait, and all his soldiers, these Huns are coming over they're coming through the field and they're coming at him. There's crazed soldiers, and his guys are scared, and he goes, wait, and then boom, he says, go. That's how it is with marathoning. You've got to be patient, otherwise you'll be burned out. It's so exhausting to train through a summer. So wait week doesn't mean you sit around the house doing nothing, but you start with your aerobic heart rate runs. And I'm big on the AHR, poor man's version, 1 breath for every 6 to 7 steps. You should be able to converse. If you can hear yourself breathing heavily out there, you're running too fast for your current ability or for that current day. You haven't had sleep, you've had some extra stress in your life, you've been sick, it's hot as blazes, you better be willing to shift gears. You can write in your journal, and by the way, you all get a personal running log, pretty cool, nothing terribly fancy. Use it. I can't stand the ones that are online because you guys bring them into me and you can't even, you're scrolling through and you go, wait a second. And a lot of them don't tell us things like how you were feeling. What was the terrain? What was going on? If we're going to look for patterns on why something's working or why it's not, it's got to be pretty detailed. You can keep it online, but a lot of times when folks bring those in, I can't make head or tails, and neither can the person. I say, well, what pace did you average here early on in the run? Oh, shoot, Mark, I can't tell. I don't know. So sometimes people are bonking on their long runs, and it turns out they're running the first 3 or 4 miles too quickly. We're going to work heavily on pace this summer, being patient with your pacing. But anyway, your base building is all aerobic heart rate. You have no business running anything faster. I was talking to an elite runner today who was doing a race in November, and he was wanting to come out and do track workouts and speed right now, and I said, whoa, no. Speaking of track workouts and speed, most of you, probably half of you will be doing some form of speed. It won't come until the final 10 weeks of your program. That's where it'll be incorporated. We do it on Wednesday mornings, and Leah, you saw my email to you. I really would love to make Wednesday as a social run period. I'm out there every Wednesday at 5:30. I have 60, 70, 80, sometimes 100 people out there. They're all different groups doing different things. I'd love to see a CTC marathon, half marathon group come out on Wednesdays. Eric, you're out there sometimes with your gang, with Ruthie and Robin. Come out. It's a great chance to socialize, and it's a hump run. That's usually your second longest run of the week.